Ryan Nugent-Hopkins re-signing with the Edmonton Oilers. And, obviously there were people like, what the hell? Why didn't you talk about it? You're right. That's my fault. But it did give me the opportunity to kind of dive a little bit deeper on this one. And Oilers Nation did a killer breakdown about what this contract means. So, you see the top line on it, 8 years, $41 million. And you think that's pretty good. He's making less money. He was making 6 before, and now it's 5.125. But I don't know if you guys have had the chance to actually kind of look deeper on this. He gave up money, yes, but he also is pretty much locked in for the next 8 years, no matter where he plays. So he did get obviously a no trade. But beyond that, this contract is essentially buyout proof. And, he'll be 36, 38 when this is done.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that term there, Oilers fans, because the last time I heard that, it was David Clarkson. So
yeah. So here's how it kind of breaks down according to Pierre LeBrun. So the first year, this coming, $5 million salary, that escalates to 5.25 the next year, and then 6.25 in 23-24 and 24-25. And then 25-26, it's a $4 million salary with a $2 million signing bonus. 26-27, $2.25 million salary with a $2.5 million signing bonus. And 27-28, that's we're already talking about near 2030 here. $22.5 million salary, $1.25 million signing bonus. We're going to come back to the signing bonuses in a second. Mm-hmm. And a $3.75 million salary to end it in 28-29.
Damn.
Crazy.
Damn.
Crazy. That's the equivalent of the start of the David Clarkson contract up until last season's end. That's 8 years. Right? That's a long, long time.
I am incapable of looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs rationally because I'm a fan of them. But one thing I think I've discovered throughout this playoff run with Sportsnet is I think I can look at other teams rationally because I have no dog in the fight and I don't care. Oilers fans are like their heads are on fire right now. They're running around and just bashing into walls because of this 8-year contract that, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is good. And I'd say he took a haircut in terms of cap hit, but that's going to be a nightmare by the end of it. Mm-hmm. And also the Duncan Keith stuff, which I guess we'll get into later.
We will.
Oilers fans, I'm here to tell you, I don't hate either move. It obviously with Keith, it depends on a wide variety of factors, but with Nugent-Hopkins, you know how Dave Notice famously said, "I'm not worried about years 5, 6, and 7." With
in this
David
case,
Clarkson.
the Oilers shouldn't be.
No, well, you're maximizing Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl's prime.
Mm-hmm.
That's what every one of your moves should be about. No, every one of your moves should be about winning. Yeah. No, they go hand in hand. You're maximizing Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl does that. And now, will Ryan Nugent-Hopkins be at least a $5.125 million player for the next 3 years? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'd put faith in that. I think he had a down year, a little bit of a down year. He'll be totally fine. The longer this deal goes, the tougher it'll get. And that's what the no move clause is for, so he can choose where he's traded to. Come on, guys. The no move clause means I get to pick. That's what it means. It almost never means no.
Yeah, give me a list of 3 teams, basically.
Yeah, and then we're not going to get any value. Well, you're trying to trade him, so he doesn't have any anyway, right? Mm-hmm. The whole reason, if he had any value, you'd want to keep him. We've seen this movie 1,000 times. So by the time Nuge's contract is in the back half, you'll have bigger fish to fry anyway.
Yeah, it seems it's a good contract for the first 3 years and a bad contract for the last 5 years. That's the way I look at it.
It's more than half.
Yeah, and I feel like if it's 5-3, then it's a bad deal. Should it not be looked at it that way?
Well, it depends. If they win the cup,
then every deal is a great deal. Then everything you have ever done is a great thing if you win the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
And the deal itself is actually one of the rarest deals in the post-lockout era, because since the lockout, 50 contracts of this length have been signed. I think it's either 7 or 8 years. There's been 50 contracts signed of this length, and it is the second lowest AAV out of all 50 of those deals.
No way.
Yeah. Wow. So the only deal that's lower it was Mike Matheson's
bizarre deal.
Which
yes.
Who got traded,
years.
by the way?
Which was 8 years and $4.9 million. Nuge comes in at number 49 on the length on the AAV of 8-year deals. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I guess it's value on an 8-year contract, but if you're handing out this amount of term to a guy who's kind of in the middling, because we said this for like years, that's where you mess up your salary cap, is in these middling deals. So if you're handing out this many years to a guy who's in the middle of your salary cap, he's not going to live up to it by the end of it. He's 28 already, and he's going to be signed through 2026.
2029.
Sorry, even further. So I don't know. And like Ken Holland has a history of this. He gave Justin Abdelkader 7 years and 4.25. You guys remember that?
Yeah, and the Leafs almost took that stupid contract on because Babs liked them so much.
Right. And so Abdelkader's last season in the NHL was the lockout year, the pandemic year. He played 49 games, had 0 goals, 3 assists. That October, Detroit buys him out. He hasn't played in the NHL since, and now they're paying his deal till they're paying the buyout, and there's a cap hit against it till 2026. So I don't know. Ken Holland has a history of this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see the sunny side here.
Well, there's a lot of sunny side for Nuge because on the open market, what's he worth? $7 million? You think?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably fair.
He's such a confusing player because like Kerfoot makes 3.5 as a winger who can play center.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like Nuge is such a higher stakes version of that.
Yes.
Like 7 million as a center on the free agent market. Yeah, absolutely. But he's only doing that like half the time in Edmonton.
Right. And I guess if you're paying that, he's playing center all the time. But I think in this particular case, what's interesting about this deal, other than the fact that I think he's okay for the first 4 years, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But in the first 4 years, $22.75 million is paid out of the $41 million term. So more than half in the first 4. And I know that sounds just about halfway. However, what's interesting about the last 3 of the 4 years is they all include signing bonuses. And Oilers Nation rightly pointed out that 26-27 and 27-28 both have the potential to be lockout years in the NHL. So he essentially is guaranteeing himself a $2 million, a $2.5 million, and a $1.5 million signing bonus. So he doesn't lose that money, because you would lose it. You just lose it. It's gone. And I think, at that point in his career, there's no way he's going to be able to recoup that. If you lose that at 23, you're probably going to be okay, because you can make that back up the next contract that you sign. Although, I mean, there's an argument to be made that you have a limited amount of time. That's the amount of time you get. You lose money, it's gone. So I think in this case, it's a little bit of lockout assurance for him. I also think if you're paying out a good chunk of that early, it does make the contract, as much as it seems not tradable. You can't buy it out, but you can trade it. And I think the other thing that we're forgetting here is that we're in the first year of the supposed 3-year lockdown on the salary cap going up. Now they were telling us before the season started the cap was going to stay flat for 3 years. I can't imagine that what they said publicly before the deals with TNT and ESPN were signed echoes exactly how they would feel today. And that's because if you look at where we were when the season started, America had just finished one of the most vicious presidential races we've ever seen. Nobody was vaccinated. Like, we're talking January here, right? Nobody's vaccinated. We're not sure how long it's going to take for the borders to open up. Now here we are 6 months later. It's a completely different story with 2 pretty fantastic television rights deals. And you got to think growth in the game. You're part of ESPN now, you're part of TNT, both major sports networks. And sometimes if you've got the product and you don't have the platform, it really makes a difference when you get the platform. You got to go where the people are. It's like, I remember I was working for a company years ago, and their whole focus outside of being on the radio was having a video go viral. But they were bound and determined that they were not going to use YouTube. They said, we're not going to put our videos on YouTube. We can't give them away for free like that. Oh. So they invested something like $250,000 in this company called Bright Cove. And they were like, we want you to go viral, but on Bright Cove. And
my sworn enemy.
So we were like, this is is I'm not sure how we're going to go viral and on Brightcove. This is like 2011. And I think, it's a bit of a weird example, but I think the NHL probably is looking at the salary cap going up. I would think sooner. Maybe next year it stays the same, which it will.
There were rumors of 5. I never believed it for a moment.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be 5. I think it's going to be after next season. If you see it go up $1 million or $2 million, the higher that cap goes up, the less you're going to worry about a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins cap. And I think that you're going to see a pretty big growth in the game in the next 3 to 4 years. And I think you're going to see alongside of that, a big growth in what teams are able to spend. I mean, like, listen, you still got Tampa spending $100 million in real salary this year, right? So it's possible. And I just think if you look at long term, this deal doesn't sting so hard to me. If we look at it from our term right now, $81.5 million, if he's 38 and making $3.75 million, yeah, that's a bit concerning.
Oh, it's horrible.
What's the percentage of cap? So $3.75 million or 5.125 against the cap. That is somewhere akin to 7 or 8% of the cap right now, right? If a few years from now it's 2% of the cap, do you really care? And he's a good guy, and he's one of the most popular Oilers ever.
This is the same defense we made for the Matthews and Marner contracts.
Okay, fine.
But that's not good. Oilers fans hate that on principle because it's comparable to Toronto.
I know. I'm just saying, do you not think, guys, that there's gonna global pandemic thing happen? You're not supposed to say global pandemic, by the way. You're supposed to say pandemic because pandemic does mean global. Pandemic aside,
Okay, loser.
It's going up.